What's up, guys? This is the Musical Nihilist, and today I'm going to be showcasing my cube draft with a tournament that I held the other day. Today's duelists are going to be Jose and Uriel. So for this draft, or this format, we decided to let the first player go first. So first turn player does draw 6 cards. Uriel sets 2 and passes it to Jose, but activates his Trap Dust Shoot during the draw phase, revealing Jose's hand, and he's going to shuffle a card back into the deck. And it looks like Jose has a pretty live hand. So it looks like Uriel decides to shuffle back the Shadal Beast to prevent Jose from getting his graveyard effect. But Jose responds with his own hand control card, the Forceful Sentry, to shuffle back a Gradle Cobra. So yeah, this draft is actually a singleton draft, or some people call it a commander draft. So there's only one copy of each card. Jose opens with a Super Quantum Red Layer and attacks into a Sangan, netting Uriel a search. So Uriel is going to search his deck for a Mathematician. So already Uriel is getting the ball rolling and trying to get some advantage going. And Jose sets a back row and passes it back. So during Uriel's turn, he normal summons Mathematician, so he can now send a level 4 or lower monster from the deck to the grave. And it looks like the monster that he decides to send is, I believe it's going to be an Electromagnetic Turtle. Alright, there it is. And remember that Mathematician's effect, when it dies by battle, will allow Uriel to draw an additional card. So it looks like Uriel is really trying to get the ball rolling and gain some card advantage over Jose. He sets another card and passes it back. So it looks like Uriel's actually in a really good spot. He's going to be ahead in card advantage and will be able to grind over whatever Jose has. But it looks like Jose counters with a Banisher of Radiance, which will banish any card. So it's a really good counter for a Mathematician, which won't get off the effect. And it looks like Uriel's really desperate to actually kick off Mathematician's effect. He shuffles it back with a Jelly Cannon, a really versatile card in draft. So Jose's gonna have to attack over the Mathematician to gain some damage, and that will allow Uriel to draw another card, and then he passes it back. So Uriel, playing pretty conservatively, will set a back row and set another monster, and Jose is gonna come in a little more offensively, getting a little aggressive with the Alexandrite Dragon, which will get equipped by the Gradle Cobra and switch control. And Uriel uses the newly gained Alexandrite Dragon to tribute summon for a Cosmo Slip Rider, and he will use the effect to destroy back row, but Jose chains Ring of Destruction. I believe that's the same Gradle Cobra that was shuffled back into the deck by Jose's Forceful Sentry. So Jose declares a direct attack with his red layer, but is stopped by the Rainbow Karibo in the hand. So yeah, we have Uriel playing very defensively and Jose playing very aggressively, very offensively. So Uriel responds with a Denko Sekka, but it's not strong enough to beat over Jose's red layer. And Jose continues with a Phantom Griffin, and his field is going to get bounced back with a Storming Mirror Force. So yeah, we're getting some pretty decent back and forth between our two duelists. And during main phase 2, Jose will special summon his red layer since he controls no monsters to try to get some field presence going. And now Uriel, in his turn, he activates Book of Eclipse and flips summons his Denko Sekka. He follows with Card of Demise to draw 3 cards, but he's going to have to discard whatever's left in his hand at the end phase. And tribute summons his Denko Sekka for the Majesty's Fiend. And the reason he activated Book of Eclipse was because, one, he wanted to get rid of the cards in his hand so he could get the full effect of Card of Demise, but he also just wanted to beat over Jose's red layer. It doesn't look like Jose has much to counter the Majesty's Fiend because he sets his Phantom Griffin, which Uriel's Majesty's Fiend easily attacks over because I believe it only has 0 defense. So it looks like Uriel is in control of the duel in terms of resources and field presence. Not to mention that Majesty's Fiend is really oppressive. So Jose just tries to stand his ground with a wind-up soldier. Uriel attempts to beat over wind-up soldier, but is stopped in his tracks by a kunai with chain. So kunai with chain is a pretty interesting card. It has two effects. It lets you change the position of an attack position monster to defense position. And it also lets you equip it to a monster so that it can gain 500 attack. So Jose thinks that the boost that it gets is just a lingering effect, but it has to be equipped. So right now we're just trying to fix the game state. And it looks like Jose is trying to make a comeback. He activates Confiscation, attempting to rip another card from Uriel's hand, but Uriel has the Magic Drain. But now he has a boosted up wind-up soldier that can beat over Majesty's Fiend. Even without the boost, Majesty's Fiend only has 1000 defense. So Jose is trying to make a comeback and take control of the duel. He draws for turn, and he goes straight for battle phase and attacks over the Morences monster, which actually has additional graveyard effects, but that won't be relevant till later in the duel. Because Uriel's monster was destroyed by battle, it triggered his Abominable Unchained Souls effect in the hand to special summon itself. And then on the field, he discarded a card to destroy the wind-up soldier, and that effect triggers Jose's Bayrick Dragon in the hand to special summon itself when his monster is destroyed by battle or card effect. So he passes it back to Uriel, who starts off with a golden sarcophagus and banishes a Cyberjar. And then he proceeds to battle phase, where he beats over the Bayrick Dragon and passes it back to Jose. Jose responds with a Link Slayer special summon from the hand and sets a card, passes it back quickly since he can't beat it over, and during Uriel's attack declaration he chains Shadow Spell. So Shadow Spell would prevent the Abominable Unchained's attack and reduce it by 700 attack points. So he passes it back to Jose, who starts off with an Allure of Darkness. So he's going to draw 2 cards and have to banish the Dark Monster. So you have some pretty decent back and forth between both players. Their card effects are popping off and triggering each other. So it looks like this game is going to count on who can grind the longer. Jose resolves his Allure of Darkness by banishing Dark Armed Dragon and summons Breaker the Magical Warrior. And Breaker is met with a Canadia right away. And then he equips his Link Slayer with Butterfly Elma to give it 2300 attack. So I know that's not much in terms of stats, but whenever that Elma is sent to the grave from the field, Jose will be able to get it back, so he will be able to get some advantage with that. It doesn't look like Uriel can do much since he passes it back and his monster can't attack. So he's just going to pass it back to Jose, who flips up his Breaker, and he summons a Leotron from the hand and passes it back. And I'm pretty sure Jose is just trying to get some field presence going, trying to wall up. If Uriel draws an out, he will be able to just kind of ram over. And if you can see, Jose actually has a Dark Destroyer in the hand. Uriel sets a card, and I'm pretty sure that card is the Cyberjar that he added with Golden Sarcophagus. So Jose is not trying to get a Cyberjar, so he tribute summons for a Cosmo Dark Destroyer and attempts to destroy the set card, and Uriel counters with Morences Balisama, which protects his monster from destruction by banishing itself from the graveyard. And because the card was banished, it does give one of his face-up monsters a 600 attack boost. Jose passes it back to Uriel, who starts off with a flip summon of Cyberjar, which will destroy all the monsters in the field, and both players are going to reveal the top 5 cards of their deck. So anything that can be normal summoned will be special summoned on the field, and then they just get to add the rest of the cards in their hand. And right now they're just trying to figure out the game state, figure out what they're summoning to the field, and Uriel proceeds to his main phase. So that monster on Uriel's side of the field, Leaf Place, has 3000 attack because it gains 200 attack for each card in his opponent's graveyard. And right now we're just doing a little bit of math, which is what they're doing. Jose's counting his graveyard, and it looks like he has 15 cards in his grave, which will amount to 3000 attack in total. Uriel shuffles back his revived King Hades in the hand with Celestial Observatory to draw 2 cards, and it shuffles it to the bottom of the deck. Now we see Uriel getting a little bit more aggressive. He banishes an Earth monster from the grave to summon Gigantes, and Jose didn't actually know that he could set his monsters in defense mode. So yeah, you have the option of summoning attack or defense, and attacks over the Iron Blacksmith Koketsu, which has a flip effect to search and equip a card from the deck. And I believe he drew the equip card when Uriel went for Saboteur. And during the end phase, since his Abominable Unchained was destroyed, he can actually bring it back, which Jose responds to with an Adhesive Trap Hole. Jose starts with a Delinquent Duel, but he decides to give it up because Uriel's way too ahead in field presence. I don't think he has enough to counter his field. And Uriel takes game 1. Moving on to game 2. So yeah, some pretty different approaches to building. Jose starts off with Confiscation. So he pays 1,000 life to look at Uriel's hand, and he's going to send one of those cards to the graveyard. Jose is looking through his cards, trying to figure out what he can counter and what to discard. And he discards the Marshmallow so that Uriel can't deal any effect damage, and of course stall, since that seems to be what gives him more advantage. Jose draws 2 with a Lure and banishes a Dark World Paladin, and then he summons Leotron and passes it back. It's pretty interesting how both players built their decks. Jose seems to have gotten a lot of high attack monsters, and Uriel seems to get monsters that have more advantage, like build advantage or that can stall. Uriel starts off with a set monster, 4 set back row, and he used Card of Demise to draw 3 and discards the leaf place from the last game. And that leaf can actually summon itself back. So Jose again tries to summon a Breaker, the Magical Warrior, which gets met with a Canadia again, and his Leotron attacks over an Electromagnetic Turtle. So it looks like Uriel is again ahead in card advantage and trying to play much more conservatively, while Jose is more so just trying to deal damage and break through Uriel's resources. Jose declares an attack with Leotron, but it's met with the Book of Moon, and then he deals 1600 damage with his Breaker, the Magical Warrior. It looks like Jose is starting to make a comeback in terms of resources. Now we see him with 3 set back row against Uriel's 3 back row, but Jose has 2 monsters on the field, and he wants to continue whittling down his resources with a Golden Lord from the hand by sending a Spell and Trap from the hand as well. And now that the Golden Lord is in the graveyard, he can actually use his effect to send a Spell and Trap card on the field to the graveyard so that he can add itself to the hand and special summon itself to the hand. And when he hits the field, he will gain an 1,000 attack boost with Destruction immunity, and that's what he does right now. And if this sinks in, this is going to be a lot of damage to Uriel. So he declares an attack with the Golden Lord, and Uriel decides to top deck the Golden Lord with a Phoenix Wing Blast. Then he attacks with Breaker the Magical Warrior and Leotron, which will put Uriel down to 2,800 life points. So yeah, Jose really seemed to gravitate towards cards that lean a little bit more aggressive. Uriel summons Tsukiyomi, which will set a monster on the field, but then it gets shadow spelled. It looks like Jose doesn't want to lose his card. And this is what I mean. Uriel went for cards that give him value. Jose summons a Alexandria Dragon, and he Ice Dragon Prisons for Uriel's Electromagnetic Turtle, so that he won't kick off his effect to banish itself and end the battle phase. So Jose's in a really good spot. If this sinks, that should be game. So he declares an attack, and he's going to Book of Eclipse Jose's field. But during the end phase, they're going to get flipped face up to defense position, and he's going to draw a card for each monster that was flipped face up. And he passes it back to Uriel, but Jose is way too ahead in field presence, card advantage, and the life points, and Uriel's life points are dangerously low. He uses Golden Lord's effect to send the Uriel set monster to the grave, and that moves us to game 3. So yeah, some pretty different approaches when it came to deck building. Uriel seemed to gravitate towards more defensive cards that let him buy time, and cards that convert themselves into other cards or move cards from the deck to the grave or to the hand. So Jose starts off strong with a Delinquent Duo, ripping 2 cards out of Uriel's hand. Uriel didn't really have much of a strong hand since he did a humble T-set. Jose attacks over the set Sangan with his Dark World Paladin, which will give Uriel a search. And Uriel searches for a Cyberjar, so it looks like Uriel's pretty desperate to get some resources going. Jose uses a Forceful Sentry, and it looks like he didn't actually set the Cyberjar that he searched. He was probably trying to bluff out Uriel. And Jose actually goes for the Cosmo Forerunner to get shuffled back because the Forerunner does have targeting immunity. So that card's just pretty difficult to deal with. And he attacks over a set Mizuki and passes it back to Uriel. So now he has 2 set back row. Uriel sets and passes. So the game is moving a little bit slowly, but Jose is trying to speed things up with the Golden Lord sending the set card, which is a Gradle Cobra. And then he's going to summon the Golden Lord back with its effect and attempt to swing in for some damage. But Uriel negates the attack with a Swift Scarecrow. So the play that just happened is actually an invalid play. That Swift Scarecrow doesn't special summon itself. Uriel was supposed to discard it to the graveyard to end the battle phase. So that Majesty's Fiend really shouldn't be on the field. He attempts to attack over the Dark World Paladin, which Jose shadow spells, and then Uriel chains the set Jelly Cannon so that he can shuffle back Golden Lord into the deck, and then he passes it back to Jose, who moves straight to the battle phase and attacks over the Majesty's Fiend. So yeah, I'm not sure how that illegal play slipped through the cracks. I think it happened while I went to the bathroom and I probably just didn't notice it. So we're going to try to be more careful about watching the game state. This duel was actually very long. It was almost an hour. So usually when games go on that long, mistakes are bound to happen. So it looks like Jose top decked the Golden Lord again after it being shuffled back. We saw him shuffle it and we cut the deck, so I don't know how that happened. And he sends Uriel's set monster, which was a Cyberjar. So Jose is actually playing very cautiously. Uriel uses the Mizuki in the grave to revive the Endless Decay in the graveyard, who gains half of Jose's total life point count. So right now that Endless Decay is at 3500 attack and attacks over the Dark World Paladin. If you notice, Jose likes to get rid of Uriel's monsters a lot because one, he likes to swing for damage, but Uriel has a lot of threatening monsters, especially the face downs. He's going to start with a Gale to half Uriel's attack, but even after halving its attack, it's still too high at a good 1750, and easily attacks over Jose's Gale. He sets a card and passes it back to Jose, and Jose again attempts to activate Golden Lord's effect to revive itself, and Uriel responds with Book of Moon on its summon. Jose sets another monster and passes. So this is where things get a little weird. Golden Lord has the effect to prevent the zombie that it summons to be destroyed by battle, and we ruled it that because it was flipped face down, it forgets about its own battle immunity. But the issue is that the Golden Lord has 2800 defense, and Uriel's Endless Decay still has 1750 from being halved by Gale, so it shouldn't even be able to attack over the Golden Lord. So we pass it back and it gets destroyed by battle. Jose revives it again, and during Golden Lord's resolution, Uriel activates Bad Aim to destroy Jose's set monster. So it lets you destroy a card other than the one activated. And that set monster was an Iron Blacksmith Koketsu. And again, this is where things got a little weird. When Jose decided to attack over Uriel's Endless Decay with his Golden Lord, the Endless Decay was no longer at 3500 attack. It was again at 1750. So yeah, whenever judging or monitoring a game, it's always important to stay vigilant and make sure that the game state is accurately represented at all times. Jose proceeds to battle phase and attempts to deal some damage to Uriel, in which Uriel responds with a Storming Mirror Force. So it looks like Uriel is doing his best to try to whittle down Jose's resources. so that he can grind a little longer. Jose sets and passes. It doesn't look like he has any back row to send with the Golden Lord. And Uriel follows up with a Golden Sarcophagus. He's going to banish a card so that he can add it in 2 turns. And yeah, it looks like the game has kind of entered into a weird stalemate where both players don't really have a choice but to play a little bit more conservatively. And it looks like Uriel is trying to speed things up by banishing the card of Demise so that he can get ahead in card advantage and get some momentum going. He's going to pass it back to Jose, who summons a wind-up soldier. And Jose deals damage, leaving Uriel at a mere 50 life points, and passes it back to Uriel. So yeah, guys, this game took maybe a little over 50 minutes, so I apologize for the mistakes made in the game state. Uriel tries to respond with a Denkoseka and attacks over the set monster. And that set monster is a Big Shield Gardna, which will deal 800 damage, putting Uriel at 0. So there was actually a mistake when calculating the life points. When looking back at all the footage, it looks like Jose actually won the duel very early on. So this game 2 should have gone to Jose, at least at this point in the duel. But Uriel still thinks he has, I think, maybe 1600 or 1700 more life points than he really does, so we continue the game. I think the miscalculation happened when Jose attacked with the vanilla Darkwood monster and dealt 1800 damage. That 1800 damage was either dealt to Jose or just wasn't dealt at all, maybe. And we were writing down the life points as the game was going. So Jose attempted to use Golden Lord's effect to target Uriel's back row, which he chained and top decked the wind-up soldier that was on the field. And now he switched the Big Shield Gardna back to defense position from attack position, and because 2 turns passed, Uriel was able to add the card of Demise that was banished to his hand, and he changes his Denkoseka to defense position because he's pretty low on life, even though Jose put him to 0 the other turn. And Jose follows with a Heroic Challenger. And this is where another illegal play occurs. The Night Watchman has the effect to destroy a defense position monster that it battles by card effect during the damage calculation. So I thought it said damage step. So if it said damage step, it wouldn't get flipped face up. But because it said before damage calculation, the Shadal Dragon should have been flipped face up and triggered its flip effect. So yeah, that was another mistake on my part. And it looks like that triggered off Uriel's Abominable Unchained Souls effect to summon it from the hand. And Uriel uses the effect on the field to destroy the Big Shield Gardna. And then he attempts to attack over the Watchman, and Jose has the skill successor to banish it and boost up his Watchman by 800 attack points, where he passes it back to Uriel, who is starting to get back in the game in terms of field and card advantage. He activates Card of Demise, setting a monster, and he sets the Electromagnetic Turtle from his hand to the grave, and now he has Jose on the defensive. Jose trying to protect his life points, and the Leaf Place is now boosted up after a long game at a decent 2800 attack. And Jose stops the Abominable Unchained's attack with Battle Fader. So Jose is doing his best to stay in the game. But I'm pretty sure this game should be his anyway because he put down Uriel's life points to 0 a few turns ago. And he also just made a few illegal plays. So I'm pretty sure without those mishaps happening, Uriel would have had the game. And the Leaf Place is now at 3000 attack. Jose summons Red Layer and then sets a monster. So yeah, Jose still had plenty of gas in the tank to last longer in the game. And Uriel's really coming back into the back row and front row. He has 2 high attack monsters and 4 set back row. So Jose is just asking how much attack he has. We're just trying to confirm the game state again. And yeah, it looks like Jose's going to try to come back with the Golden Lord. And Uriel's looking for a response. He's going to attempt to attack over the Abominable Unchained, but he stops the attack with the Electromagnetic Turtle. So yeah, it looks like Uriel is now in the sweet spot, but This game really shouldn't have been his in the first place. He attacks over a set Don's Lug, boosting up the Leaf place an additional 200 attack. And it looks like Jose scoops it up there. So yeah, clearly mistakes were made, especially during game 3, mostly on my end, so I do apologize for that, guys. This game was pretty long, so it was kind of hard to keep track of everything that was going on. So yeah, these are the deck lists in case you guys are wondering. And this actually is a part of a bigger tournament series. Uriel actually had to go to work after this duel, so we ended up giving the win to Jose, and who moved up in the bracket. But after reviewing the videos, it looks like Jose actually did win legitimately. I just made a few clerical errors, so I'll try to be better about that. So be on the lookout for the next few videos and the other duels, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks again.